About time we stop, those of us who support, as most of us do, Israel in this body, for apologizing for our support for Israel. There's no apology to be made. None. It is the best $3 billion investment we make. Were there not an Israel, the United States of America would have to invent an Israel to protect her interest in the region. The United States would have to go out and invent an Israel.
The second part is people should understand by now, this should be crystal clear, that Israel is the single greatest strength America has in the Middle East. I always say to my friends when they say those things to you, I say, imagine our circumstance in the world were there no Israel. How many battleships would there be? How many troops would be stationed? You know, I used to say early on when I was a kid, I'd say, when I was a young senator, I'd say, if I were a Jew, I'd be a Zionist. I am a Zionist. You don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist.
Progress occurs in the Middle East when everyone knows there's simply no space between the United States and Israel. There is no space between the United States and Israel when it comes to Israel's security. There is only one nation in the world that has unequivocally, without hesitation, and consistently confronted the efforts to delegitimize Israel. At every point in our administration, at every juncture, we've stood up on behalf of the legitimacy of the state of Israel.
The security of Israel and the United States is inextricably tied, and we will never, ever, ever abandon Israel out of our own self-interest. I also emphasize what I've said throughout this conflict. The United States fully supports Israel's right to defend itself against indiscriminate rocket attacks from Hamas and other Gaza-based terrorist groups that have taken the lives of innocent civilians in Israel.
The truth is a funny thing, and as more and more of the truth gets exposed into the world, we are beginning to see how those who suppress the truth will even suppress their own people in order to defend the lie. It's a funny thing, isn't it?
And if you want to deny that and arrest me, that I'll say that in court. Because Israel is doing what the Nazis did to my family. My family perished in concentration camp in Nazi Germany. And now we Israelis exterminating Palestinians in Gaza. We are doing final solution in Gaza. No, you don't. No, you don't. That is reality. That is the truth. That is to protect Jews. We unfortunately can't even find Israelis who defend Palestinians in that way. So no, we're not a better, we're actually worse.
The sign needs to come off.
The sign is not coming off. You can arrest me. The sign is not coming off because that is the truth.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
No, it's not coming off. And it doesn't need to be.
But somebody who's never met this woman. My husband is Jewish. My friend's husband is Jewish. This woman is Jewish. This woman's family died in the Nazi Holocaust. This woman's family died in the Nazi Holocaust.
Obviously, the public and the common law have the right to peaceful protest, but that could incite hate towards a specific community.
That is not hate. That
She's
is
from
the
that
hate
community.
to protect the Israeli extermination of Gaza. And you know what is hate? Is to assume that Jews supporting it. That is hate. That is anti-Semitic for you to even imply that Jews support this Holocaust which is happening as we speak in Gaza.
It's the truth.
At the moment, it is 1:51 in the afternoon. I'm arresting you on the Secretary of State.
No, shame on you. Shame on you. Don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do this.
It is not the difference of religions which is causing this conflict. The state of Israel does not represent all Jews and certainly does not represent the Jewish religion. According to Jewish religion, all of this is criminal. All of this is forbidden. basics of Jewish belief teaches that Jews are in a divinely decreed exile. We are even forbidden to create a sovereignty for ourselves. We are even forbidden to create a sovereignty for ourselves. But especially when this is by killing, stealing, oppressing an entire people. But especially when this is by killing, stealing, oppressing an entire people. But especially when this is by killing, stealing, oppressing an entire people. But especially when this is by killing, stealing, oppressing an entire people.
Jews participated in proportionate numbers in both slave trading and in slave owning, especially in some of the Caribbean islands. In fact, if you go to Suriname, they have a beautiful synagogue there that's been preserved with a sand floor and beautiful declarations. You'll also notice a lot of the street names are named after Jewish families that were prominent plantation owners there, but they owned slaves. And if you know anything about the slavery experience in the sugar plantations in Suriname and in Curacao, it was the most brutal, awful slavery you could imagine. Amputating limbs, working the slaves to death, not even bothering to feed them or care for them in any way, because they were cheap to just import more. I mean, it really was some of the worst experiences of slavery to be found, and Jews were a part of that society and a part of that experience, both in the Caribbean and also in the American South.
But especially when this is by killing, stealing, oppressing an entire people. This is not only criminal according to international law. This is a true violation of Judaism. And still, those people who choose not to follow Judaism misuse that very same religion to justify all those crimes forbidden in Judaism. The root cause is this criminal occupation which is oppressing an entire people. We have to end this occupation in its entirety. If people will ask me my advice, the leaders of Israel should wake up tomorrow morning and step out of the Knesset and return the land back to indigenous population. I guarantee peace.
Because we're Jews, it's being done in our name. We have to stand up and yell. It's not anti-Semitism to be against Zionism. On the contrary, we are attacked. Wherever there is a large Jewish community, wherever there's a very religious Jewish community, even if it's not large, they will be in opposition to the existence of the Zionist state of Israel because it is antithetical to Judaism. Zionism is a movement that started around 150 years ago. That's just really recently, relatively recently. And it's a movement of people who were totally estranged from the Jewish religion. They were nationalists. They weren't practicing the religion as a whole. The Jews never attempted, even though we went through hardships, the Inquisition, the Crusades, and we suffered a lot, but we never attempted to reestablish a Jewish sovereignty, a Jewish nationhood, a Jewish kingdom, because we know it's verboten, it's forbidden. But we never attempted to reestablish a Jewish sovereignty, a Jewish nationhood, a Jewish kingdom, because we know it's verboten, it's forbidden. It's just not acceptable according to Judaism to have our own state.
Zionism is a racist ideology. Judaism has never stood for racism.
Now, it happens to be that Jewish law permits the enslavement of any non-Jew, white or black. That's another question which got raised. But that has nothing to do with racism. That's just a heter that we are allowed to enslave non-Jewish populations, perhaps to bring them to mitzvos, bring them to Torah and the like, but it's not a black thing for sure.
Conflating Zionism and Judaism is criminal. It's an unforgivable crime. Not only to the Jewish people, but to the Palestinians and to humanity.
Germany has finally come full circle. After committing a genocide against the Jewish people during the Holocaust, Germany vowed to always stand by and protect the Jewish people. And as a part of that, they aligned themselves with the State of Israel, the genocidal Zionist government of the State of Israel, and they've exported arms and gave them political support. In fact, Germany is Israel's second largest arm exporter behind the United States, and their political support for Israel rivals that of ours. But now Germany is going to have to answer for supporting Israel. The country of Nicaragua has started a case against Germany in the International Court of Justice, and they're holding the hearing soon. In all these cases, they start off with voting on emergency provisions, and as part of these emergency provisions, Nicaragua has asked that they vote on these two provisions: that Germany stop all arms exports to Israel, and that Germany resume funding the UNRWA, which Germany has already resumed funding. But what Germany hasn't done is stop sending Israel weapons that they're using to kill Palestinians. Nicaragua is setting a good precedent for other governments. Other governments should be scared of being taken to the International Court of Justice when they back a genocide. People like Joe Biden should be afraid of ending up there.
There's no apology to be made. None. It is the best $3 billion investment we make. Were there not an Israel, the United States of America would have to invent an Israel. Were there not an Israel, the United States of America would have to invent an Israel. Were there not an Israel, the United States of America would have to invent an Israel.
And I would like to use the rest of my time to say how appalled I am that people are bringing up the Holocaust. Do not use other genocides to describe this one. Do not use other genocides to describe this one. Do not use other genocides to describe this one.
And the Holocaust became their God. And the Holocaust became their God. And the Holocaust became their God. They have to constantly infuse Zionism with new life. And when the Holocaust becomes tired, because it will, as generations go further and further away from the Holocaust, it becomes less and less exciting. They're going to have to find something else. That's why it was doomed from the start.
I have been... Oh.
We're not gonna tolerate that.
This one that I personally do not see. It is a horrible, horrible, horrible situation, and I cry for my Palestinian sisters and brothers.
If you say, I'm not anti-Jews, I'm anti-Zionists, who do you think Zionists are? Who do you think Zionists are? Who do you think Zionists are?
Hi, I'm Quinn, and I'm an anti-Zionist Jew. Zionist Jews have gotten really, really good at making this conflict and this crisis an issue of anti-Semitism. That's not what it is. The way they spin it, if you don't support Israel, if you don't support the right of Jewish people to establish an ethno-state on currently occupied land, you're a Nazi, you're anti-Semitic, you're blowing dog whistles, you want Jewish people to die. Not true. This conflict, this crisis is not about religion. It's about land. Before Zionism had ever come into the mainstream political sphere, before Israel was ever created, before the Holocaust, before all of it, Jews, Muslims, and Christians all lived in Palestine. Palestine was not a Muslim country. The land is spiritually relevant to almost all major religions. And up until the proliferation of Zionism and the establishment of the Israeli state, all major religions with ties to the land were represented in the population of Palestine. The issue arose after the Holocaust. There was a mass immigration of Jews from Europe to Palestine, and eventually it became a mainstream political party and political ideology to believe that Jews were owed ownership of the land. It didn't matter what other religions were spiritually connected to the land should be owned by Jewish people. And Zionists make this about anti-Semitism. They are forcing you to pick either anti-Semitism or Islamophobia. It's inherently violent. It's an inaccurate portrayal of the conflict, and it's a bastardization of Judaism. Using Judaism and the atrocities of the Holocaust to justify and inform settler colonial violence is a slap in the face to the entire faith a perversion of what Judaism teaches us.
We are standing just next to the synagogue where stolen Palestinian property is being sold. Those selling the stolen properties, those purchasing the stolen properties are thieves. Internationally, the world recognizes that the settlements are stolen property. Now you are fighting not Palestine. You guys across the street are fighting the entire world with no exception. Now I say, shame on you! 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 There is no Palestine! There is no Palestine! God gave us Israel and you're not taking it back! So go F yourself! Shut it down! Shame on you! You're not doing it!
It's rather interesting how none of them can agree on what they are: a religion, a nation, Zionist.
When I heard we were going to pass a bill that was going to define anti-Semitism, I got kind of encouraged because I've seen it defined 1,000 different ways, but then I go into this bill and I see there's actually no definition of anti-Semitism here. Mr. Fry, why? I know it says it adopts the IHRA definition, but why not just put that definition in the legislation?
You know, I'm not the chief sponsor of the bill. I'm a co-sponsor of it. I think the reference, and I think you see this in other laws, certainly in my experience, that they reference certain things. So the reference, I think, suffices in my opinion. But I think the definition plus the examples that they give out pretty clearly gives, I think, some guidance to the Department of Education to look at this issue when they're examining complaints that are happening on college campuses.
So are the examples incorporated into this bill as well?
I believe so, but I may be I'm speaking off the top of my head. I believe so, yes.
So, because the definition, I mean, I think it would behoove us to actually put the definition in the bill. I don't know why you wouldn't stick it in there. It's, I think it's one sentence long if I found the definition itself on the website correctly. And then there are a lot of examples, which I suspect could change over time. And I actually agree with Ranking Member Nadler that some of these examples may be anti-Semitism, but they may not be in a different context. They're just not clear enough without the context around each of those examples. And yes, Mr. Nadler, would you like to speak to that?
That is why the chief author of the IRA definition, Ken Stern, said don't codify it.
But we're supposed to continue to drink the Kool-Aid of their hate that mutates.
This woman is Jewish. This woman is Jewish. This woman is Jewish. This woman's family died in the Nazi Holocaust. This woman's family died in the Nazi Holocaust.
Obviously, the public and the common law have the right to peacefully protest, but that could incite hate towards a specific community.
That is not hate. That is the hate to protect the Israeli extermination of Gaza. And you know what is hate? Is to assume that Jews supporting it. That is hate. That is anti-Semitic for you to even imply that Jews support this Holocaust which is happening as we speak in Gaza.
The truth. At the moment, it is 1:51 in the afternoon. I'm arresting you on the Secretary of the
No, shame on you. Shame on you. Don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do this.
You're complicit with genocide! I'm an Israeli and I'm telling you, your money is funding fascism! Apartheid! Stop the genocide!
And I would like to use the rest of my time to say how appalled I am that people are bringing up the Holocaust. Do not use other genocides to describe this one.
So you mean to tell me that not even the Jewish are safe from the Jewish when the truth is told? But let's be real, neither side want the real truth out. They must distract us all.
They created an Holocaust just so they can go to Israel to live. You've created an Holocaust just so you can move in somebody else's yard. You're an idiot. You're a certified idiot. When we know, everyone here know that you stand out like a sore thumb. Because you go around and you living in Israel and there will never be peace. There will never be peace in Israel until you guys leave.
Sorry, look, I'm Muslim, but I'm saying to you that's basically anti-Semitism.
Don't bring that Muslim thing right now. I cannot be friends with you and you because you stole the Arabs' identity and you stole the Israelites' identity. You stole the Arabs' identity and you stole the Israelites' identity. You stole the Arabs' identity and you stole the Israelites' identity.
What did the original Jews of London and Amsterdam actually look like? In a 1600s book entitled Travels in Holland, the Jews of Amsterdam are described in this manner. The men are most black, full of hair, and insatiably given unto women. In a 1700s book by John Mackey, a man of London, England, named Daniel, Earl of Nottingham, who happened to be the Secretary of State, is described as a tall, thin, very black man, like a Spaniard or a Jew. In an 1800s book by Robert Knox, the London Jew is described as having lips very full, mouth projecting, chin small, and the whole physiognomy, when swarthy, as it often is, has an African look. James Shapiro, a professor at Columbia University, states in his book that when Minister Robert Kirk visited a London synagogue in 1690, all 200 Jewish worshippers at the synagogue were black men.
It is becoming more and more evident that the truth cannot be suppressed forever, even when you see that the Gentiles are speaking out about the truth. Some lie, but some Gentiles are sick of the lies and will do whatever it takes to cleave unto true Israel.
All right, so a lot of you guys out there seem kind of slow, so I just have to let you know that the so-called Jews living in the state of Israel today, they are not the descendants of the biblical Israelites. First of all, the Bible says originally all the Israelites were dark-skinned people. Song of Solomon 1:5, I am black. The book of Daniel said the Lord got woolly hair. Daniel 7:9, I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head was like the pure wool. And as we all know, Revelation, the first chapter, says Yahushua, the Son of God, has woolly hair. Revelation 1:14, his head and his hairs were white like wool. The biggest book in the Bible is the book of Psalms. If I ask people what color people sing gospel music, what's the first people that's going to pop in their head? If I ask you what color are the people that sing soul music, what's the first people that's going to pop in your head? King David played the harp. The modern day harp's the guitar. Jimi Hendrix is known as the best guitar player ever.
So as a Gentile, I'm here to profess, black people, you are Israelites, you are the chosen ones, you are a prestigious people. Your history is in the Bible. In order to better understand why you are Israelites, I'm going to bring forward two witnesses from Deuteronomy 28. And if you're not familiar with it, Deuteronomy 28 outlines the curses of the Israelites for not hearkening unto the voice of the Lord. Now I'll bring forth my first witness from Deuteronomy 28:15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. So because you didn't keep your end of the covenant, follow the law, statutes, and commandments, you've been cursed. Let's take a look at one of those curses and see if it applies. Deuteronomy 28:66 reads, And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shall have no assurance of thy life. Now, I don't know about you, I live in America. Black people have no assurance of their life, and it's because you're Israelite.
Our job is to stand back and see the salvation of our Adonai. No matter what, we must remember that this awakening cannot be stopped, and every lie will be exposed.
Jesus Christ is the most famous black radical revolutionary in history, and he was treated just like Dr. King. He was arrested on occasion, and he was also crucified or assassinated. This is what happens to black activists. We are killed by the government. Well, and if you need context, if you read your Bible, it'll say that Jesus had feet like burnt brass and hair like wool. I don't know if you noticed, but our hair seems to be more like wool, and we seem to be likened to that color than anyone else. Jesus was not white. We all know this.
Okay, I mean, I think Jesus is Jesus to all Christians, and people interpret him in imagery in different ways. Obviously, he was from the Middle East. We all know that. That's obvious. So
he wasn't a white man. We all know that, right?
I don't know how. I don't
we all know
see
Jesus
how he was
white, right?
Middle Eastern. Yes, he was Middle Eastern. Yeah. All right, we're gonna go. Thank you very much.
You people like to say, let's forget, let's not blame anyone. Please stop that nonsense. When the Holocaust happened against the Jews, it was 1940s, 45. Not a single African country other than Ethiopia and those who had not been colonized was free. The first African country got independent 1957. There is not a single Jewish person who will allow you to forget the Holocaust. And in fact, there are crimes, not just in Israel, across the world against denial of the Holocaust. US foreign policy, Israeli foreign policy is very key. It's a central issue. Africans, for some reason, must forget something that happened 50 years ago, if you are Zimbabwe 80 years ago. Listen, we must always remind our friends from Europe and elsewhere that slavery was a crime against humanity, as is colonialism and neocolonialism. That killing Sankara in 1984 because you are opposed to communism and plunging his country into chaos that you are now trying to solve as a problem of poor governance is a shared responsibility. So we will take responsibility for our nakedness. But for goodness sake, a naked emperor cannot lecture us about how to be clothed. Pan-Africanism is not a theory. It's the lived solidarity that made the Ethiopians give Nelson Mandela a passport, that made Senegalese civil servants contribute $1 each every month for the liberation of South Africa, that made Zambia take care of us as Zimbabweans and South Africans as we fought for our liberation, that made Uganda take care of the comrades that now run this country. If Pan-Africanism has no active solidarity action, no active affirmative action, the words are meaningless because even the devil can quote scripture.
So fret not, Yah's people. The Most High will deliver us. I want to thank y'all so much for tuning in. Definitely let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you have not already done so, like, share, subscribe, and definitely support this platform. If you want to see great content like this to continue, please support by way of CashApp, PayPal, Super Thanks, Super Chat, or Super Sticker. Thank you so much, and as always, Yah bless.